offensive and defensive alliance between Kheta and Xmet. In the year 21, in the month Kiebe, on the 21st day of the month, in the reign of King Yemen Ra Mu Mus Su, the dispenser of life eternally and forever, the worshipper of the entities Yemen Ra, Thebes, Horyam Ku of Heliopolis, Ta of Memphis, Mut, the lady of Asher Lake near Karnak, and Kansu, the peace-loving. There took place a public sitting on the throne of Horus, among the living, resembling his father Horyam Ku in eternity evermore. On that day, the king was in the city of Ra Masu. Is that how you say it? Okay, well, I'll correct myself with it. Presenting his peace offerings to his father, Yemen Ra, at an entity's Haryab Ku Tamu, the lord of Heliopolis, and to Yemen of Yemen Ra Mu Mas Su, to Ptah of Yemen Ra Mu Mas Su, and to Suffix the strong, the son of the female entity of heaven, Nut, so that they might grant him many 30 years, jubilee feasts, and innumerable happy years, and the subjection of all peoples under his feet forever. Then came forward the ambassador of the king, and Adon of his house by name, and presented the ambassadors of the great king of Kheta Sar, who were sent to Pharaoh to propose friendship with the king Yemen Ra Mu Mas Su, the dispenser of life eternally and forever, just as his father, the sun entity, dispenses it each day. This is the copy of the contents of the silver tablet, which the great king of Kheta Sar, had caused to be made, and which was presented to the Pharaoh by the hand of the ambassador Tarthe Sebu, as the ambassador Ra let's woo. To propose friendship with the king Yemen Ra Mu Mas Su. Ra Mas, to propose friendship with the king Ra. Yemen Ra Mu Mas Su, the bull among the princes, who places his boundary marks where it pleases him in all lands, the treaty which had been proposed by the great king of Kheta Sar, the powerful son of Marosar, the great king of Kheta, the powerful, and the son of Sapalele, the great king of Kheta, the powerful, on the silver tablet, to Yemen, Ra, Mu, Us, Su. The great prince of Egypt, the powerful, the son of Meneptah. Yemen, the great prince of Egypt, the powerful, the son of Meneptah. Ptah, Mer, Satin, the great prince of Egypt, the powerful, the son's son of Ra, Mus, Sus, Wu, the first Ramses, the great king of Egypt, the powerful. This was a good treaty for friendship and concord, which assured peace and established concord for a longer period than was previously the case, since a long time, for it was the agreement of the great prince of Egypt in common with the great king of Kheta that the entity should not allow enmity to exist between them on the basis of a treaty, to wit, in the times of Mao Than-ar, the great king of Kheta, my brother, he was at war with the great prince of Egypt, Metaples Seti. Okay. But now, from this day forward, Khetasar, the great king of Kheta, shall look upon this treaty so that the agreement may remain which the entity Ra has made, which the entity Suffix has made, the people of Egypt, and for the people of Kheta, that there should be no enmity between them forevermore. And these are the contents. Khetasar, the great king of Kheta, is in covenant with Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mus, Su, the great prince of Egypt, from this very day forward, that there may subsist a good friendship and a good understanding between them forevermore. He shall be my ally, he shall be my friend. I will be his ally, I will be his friend forever. To wit, in the time of Ma'o Than-ar, the great king of Kheta, his brother, after his murder, Khetasar placed himself on the throne of his father. As the great king of Kheta, I strove for friendship with Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mus, Sus, the great prince of Egypt. And it is my wish that friendship and the concord may be better than the friendship and concord which before existed and which was broken. I declare I, the great king of Kheta, will hold together with Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mus, Su, the great prince of Egypt, in good friendship and good concord. The sons of the great king of Kheta will hold together and be friends with the sons of Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mus, Su, the great prince of Egypt. In virtue of our treaty for concord, and in virtue of our agreement for friendship, let the people of Egypt be bound in friendship with the people of Kheta. Let a like friendship and a like concord subsist in such measure for time. Let never enmity rise between them. Never let the great king of Kheta invade the land of Egypt, if anything shall have been plundered from it, the land of Kheta. Never let Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mus, Su, the great prince of Egypt, overstep the boundary of the land of Kheta, if anything shall have been plundered from it, the land of Egypt. The just treaty, which existed in the time of Saplele, the great king of Kheta, likewise the just treaty which existed in the times of Mao Than-ar, the great king of Kheta, my brother, that will I keep. Yemen, Ra, Mu, Us, Su. The great prince of Egypt declares that he will keep it. We have come to an understanding about it. with one another at the same time from this day forward, and will fulfill it, and will act in a righteous manner. If another shall come as an enemy to the lands of Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great prince of Egypt, then let him send an embassy to the great king of Keta, and to this effect, come and make me stronger than he. Then shall the great king of Keta assemble his warriors, and the king of Keta shall come and smite his enemies. But if it should not be the wish of the great king of Keta to march out in person, then he shall send his warriors and his chariots, that they might smite his enemies. Otherwise, he would incur the wrath of Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great prince of Egypt. And if Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great prince of Egypt, should banish for a crime subject from his country, and they should commit another crime against him, then shall he, the king of Keta, come forward to kill them. The great king of Keta shall set in common with the great prince of Egypt. If another come as enemy to the lands of the great king of Keta, then he shall send embassy to the great prince of Egypt with the request that he would come in great power to kill his enemies, and if it be the intention of Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, Ramses II, the great prince of Egypt himself to come, he shall smite the enemies of the great king of Keta. It is not the intention of the great king, prince of Egypt, to march out in person. Then he shall send his warriors and his 2 horse chariots, while he sends back the answer to the people of Keta. If any subjects of the great king of Keta have offended him, then Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great prince of Egypt, shall not receive them in his land, but shall advance to kill them. The oath with the wish to say, I will go until Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great prince of Egypt, living forever there, that he may be given for them to the Lord, that Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great prince of Egypt, may speak according to his agreement evermore. If the servants flee away out of the territories of Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great princes of Egypt, the great prince of Egypt shall betake to themselves to the great king of Keta. The great king of Keta shall not receive them, but the great king of Keta shall give them to Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great prince of Egypt. They may receive their punishment. Okay, I'm trying to get the light to show right, to show you the cartouches, to back up the fact that I'm reading them the way I am. Okay, that's going to have to wait. If the servants of Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great prince of Egypt, leave his country and betake themselves to the land of Keta to make themselves servants of another, they shall not remain in the land of Keta. They shall be given up to Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great prince of Egypt. If, on the other hand, there should flee away servants of the great king of Keta in order to betake themselves to Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great prince of Egypt, in order to stay in Egypt, then those who have come from the land of Keta in order to betake themselves to Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great prince of Egypt, shall not be received by Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, the great prince of Egypt. But the great prince of Egypt, Yemen, Ra, Mu, Mas, Su, shall deliver them up to the great king of Keta. And if it shall leave the land of Keta persons of skillful mind, that they come to the land of Egypt to make themselves servants of another, then Yemen, Ra, Mu-Mas-Su will not allow them to settle. He will deliver them to the great king of Keta. When this treaty shall be known by the inhabitants of the land of Egypt and of the land of Keta, then they shall not offend against it, for all that stands written on the silver tablet. These are the words which will have been approved by the company of the entities among the male entities and among the female entities, among those namely of the land of Keta, and by the company of the entities among the male entities and among the female entities, among those namely of the land of Egypt. They are witnesses for me to the validity of the words, of these words which they have allowed. This is the catalogue of the entities of the land of Keta. Sataks of the city of Tunip, or Daphne. Sataks of the land of Keta. Sataks of the city of Ronema. Sataks of the city of Zaranda. Sataks of the city of Pilka. Sataks of the city of Kisop. Okay. Satak of the city of Sarsu. Sataks of the city of Khilbu, or Halab. Sataks of the city of, and another one missing that, Sataks of the city of Sarpens. Astartha of the city of Keta. The entity of the land of Za'ath, Kira, and Morris Astaroth, like the Goetia number 29. I go over the hieroglyph of that. The entity of the land of Za'ath, Kira. The entity of the land of Ka, something missing about its name. Kadinger Ra or something, maybe. The entity of the land of Ker, the female entity of the city of Ak. So Ka, Ker, and Ak have something missing with their name. The female entity of the city of, and of the land of something with a Uwa at the end. The female entity of this land of Za'ina. The entity of the land of something Nath, something, maybe all the same name. I have invoked these male and female entities of the land of Keta. These are the entities of the land, as witness to my oath. With them that have been associated the male and female entities of the mountains and of the rivers of the land of Keta, the entities of the land of Qazauadana, Gauzanitis, Yemen, Fra, Sataks, and the male and female entities of the land of Egypt, of the earth, of the sea, of the winds, and of the storms, with regard to the commandment with the silver tablet contains for the people of Keta and for the people of Egypt, who shall not observe it shall be given over the vengeance of the company of the entities of Keta, and shall be given over to the vengeance of the company of the entities of Egypt, he and his house and his servants. But he who shall observe these commandments, which the silver tablet contains, whether he be of the people of Keta or the people of the Egyptians, because B has not neglected them, because he has not neglected them, the company of the entities of the land of Keta and the company of the entities of the land of Egypt shall secure his reward and preserve life for him and his servants and those who are with him and who are with his servants, if there flee away of the inhabitants, one from the land of Egypt, are 2 or 3, and they betake themselves to the great king of Keta, the great king of Keta shall not allow them to remain, but he shall deliver them up and send them back to Yemen, Ra, Mu, Su, the great prince of Egypt. Now, with respect to the inhabitants of the land of Egypt, who is delivered up to Yemen, Ra, Mu, Su, the great prince of Egypt, his fault shall not be avenged on him, his house shall not be taken away, nor his wife, nor his children. There shall not be put to death his mother, neither shall there be punished in his eyes, nor on his mouth, nor on the soles of his feet, so that no crime shall be brought forward against him. In the same way it shall be done for the inhabitants of the land of Keta, take the flight, be it one alone, or two, or three, or betake themselves to Yuman Ra Mu Su, the great prince of Egypt. Yuman Ra Mu Su, the great prince of Egypt, shall cause them to be seized, and they shall be delivered up to the great king of Keta. With regard to him who is delivered up to his crime shall not be brought forward against him. His house shall not be taken away, nor his wives, nor his children, nor his people, nor his mother shall not be put to death. He shall not be punished in his eyes, nor on his mouth, nor on the soles of his feet, nor shall any accusation be brought forward against him. That which is in the middle of this silver tablet and on its front side is a likeness of the entity Sutux, surrounded by an inscription to this effect. This is the picture of the entity Sutux, the king of heaven and earth. At this time of the treaty which Ketasar, the great king of Keta, made, this treaty seems to have been received with great rejoicings, judging from letters of that period still in existence, according to a memorial tablet which was set up solemnly in the temple of Abu Simbel, and the long inscription on which begins with the date of the year 34 of the reign of Yemen Ra Su. The Egyptian king married the daughter of the king of Keta. The prince of Keta, clad in the dress of his country, himself conducted the bride to his son-in-law. After the marriage had taken place, the young wife, as queen, received the name of Ma'at the Pharaoh Ra. The temple at Der records the presence of Yemen Ra Mu Su in that country also. There may be seen representative of Arazia, the king against the Negroes. Okay, yeah, it just sounds weird. Because you see from the graphic here, the Egyptians were brown skinned. We dig up their graves; they're blacker than most of what we call black in my country. But yeah, but a lot of the African races are pretty dark. So, I mean, darker than you see here. So, in like manner, at Beit el Wali are vivid pictures of the Pharaoh's victories over the land of Cush. The Thuhan and the Phoenicians, evidently he's just returned home and is holding a court in his temple. The deeds of victory are inscribed 100,000 times on the glorious Persia, as the chastiser of the foreigners who has placed his boundary marks according to his pleasure in the land of the Rotenu. He is, in truth, the son of Ra and his very likeness. The hereditary prince Yemen-Khur Onamth appears before the king and presents to him a train of captive Negroes and tributes of leopard skins, lions, giraffes, antelopes, gazelles, and of gold rings, ivory, fruits, and other productions of the south. The king's son, Cush, Yemen Yep Ape, I don't know how that name's spelled, so I can't do any better than that at the moment. A son of power then stands before his master to be decorated with a gold necklace as a reward for his honest and successful service. A campaign had just been brought to a close, which had subjected the revolted Negro tribes anew to the scepter of Egypt. In his principal battle, Yemen Ra Mu Su, in his chariot, his son named above, and his pious brother Kamwas accompanied him. Here is another court of the king of the south. At his feet lie his faithful attendant, the lion Smam Kheftuf, the terror into pieces of his enemies. There his son, accompanied by Egyptian warriors, brings to the pharaoh some captive Khar Phoenicians, without doubt for the purpose of being employed as workmen on the buildings which Yemen Ra Mu Su was erecting there. Prisoners of the Canaanite and Libyan tribes were also employed on the erection of buildings. His own words declare of his victories that henceforth sand is in their dwellings instead of the fruits of the earth. Accompanied by one of his sons, he took their chief city, the miserable king, which declares to Sesostris, no other is to be compared to Baal as thou art. Thou, O king, art his true son forever. Gimen, Ra, Mu, Mus, Su, seems to have subjugated only small tribes of Ethiopia and Libya in his campaign into the interior of the country. Their names are mentioned incidentally on several monuments. Thus, the memorial stone of Abisymbol cites the Antum, Hapu, Tenfu, Temu, and Hetau, whom the Memphite entity Tatanan delivers subjects into the hands of his son Yimun Ra Mu Su. The monuments mention as king's sons of Cush, the Egyptian lords Pa'ur, Yimun, is it Yum or just Appa, son of Power Setuan, who was also entrusted with the administration of the gold mines. Ibn Heb Nektu Masue, in order to increase his revenues. Yemen Ra Mu Masu turned his attention to the gold districts, and especially to the Nubian mines of Akita, the modern Wadi Alaka, but water was wanting in the sterile valleys, and men and beasts died on the roads. From an old Egyptian map at Turin, the situation of the mountain tracks, the roads, the places where the gold was found, and wells and all other appurtenances and buildings can be determined. Here, according to the inscriptions, are the mountains out of which the gold was extracted. They are marked with a red color. There, the roads which have been abandoned leading to the sea. Here, the houses of the gold washing, the well, and the memorial stone of King Meneptah I, Seti I. There, the temple of Yemen and the holy mountain, nothing is forgotten, which could seem calculated to give the spectator an idea of the state of the region, even to the stones and scattered trees along the roads. Ta Mer Satine, said it first, had first worked the gold mines, but without any remarkable success. He made the well named in the inscriptions and erected it near the memorial stone of which the inscription on the map speaks. The shaft of the well had a depth of more than 63 yards, but the water soon became exhausted, and the mine was abandoned. The following inscription covers a stone which was found in the village of Kuban, opposite Tedeka, on the eastern bank of the Nubian territory. Here stood in ancient times a fortified place, destined as a bulwark against the eruptions of the Nubian tribes. Inscribed stones on the neighboring mention Drahota, the Fracusper, Mus, the third, Hor Imheb, and Yemen Ra Mu Su. Really the W sound, not the U. But this place seems to be, seems at the same time to have been the point of departure for communication with the gold mines. And we have how many numbers for this bit? I'm just going to tell you how many numbers we have. 34. Okay. But be careful with these pages here. 38. In the year 3 and month Tiebe, on the 4th day, in the reign of the king Yemen Ra Mu Masu, the dispenser of life eternally and forever, the friend of the Theban Yemen Ra of Apt, a court was held on the throne of her, that is, of the king among the living, like his father, the everlasting sun entity, the divine benefactor, the lord of the southland, the radiant her temple of Horus. A beautiful golden sparrowhawk has spread out its wings over Egypt, giving shade to the inhabitants in the protecting wall of the strong and victorious. When he goes forth thence, diffusing terror, it is to display his power for enlarging his boundaries. The glittering brilliancy of color has been granted to his body by the victories of Mentu. He is the lord of the two crowns of Hor and of Set. A shout of joy resounded in heaven on the day of his birth. The entity spoke thus: "We have begotten him." The female entity thus: "He is born of us to govern to the kingdom of Ra." Yemen thus: "I am he who formed him to put truth in its place." The land was set in order. The heaven quieted, the company of the entity satisfied. Through his piety, he is a mighty bull for the miserable land of Cush, who pushes back the conspirators from the land of the Negroes. His hoof crushes the Anu, the Cushites, and his horn gores them. He has made himself master of the land of Nubia, and his terror, it has reached the land of Karu. His name resounds in all lands because of the victories which his hands have achieved. The gold appears on the mountains at his name, as at the name of his father Hur, the lord of Baka, the well-beloved in the land of the south, and at the name of Hur in the land of Mama, the lord of Buhan, Boon, Boon, Boon. Is it trying to say a Greek variation? So Baon. Anyways, this is the king Yemen Ra Mu Masu, the dispenser of life eternally and forever, like his father, the everlasting sun entity. The mother and father birth, we, several back here, right? Well, not several back, we're only through 7. Then was the king in the city of Memphis to worship his fathers, the entities considered to be gods, the lords of the south and north Egypt, that they might grant him power and victory at a long duration of life of infinitely many years. On one of these days it came to pass that the king sat there on his great throne of gold, attired with the royal diadem and with the ornament of the double plume, to consult about the countries from which the gold was obtained, and to consider the method and way of boring wells on the roads, which are accursed for want of water, since he had heard that there was much gold existing in the land of Akita, but that the approach it was a curse on account of the utter want of water. There were taken some gold washers to the place where it was, but these who had gone thither had died of thirst on the road, together with the donkeys which were with them. They could not find what was required for them to drink on their upward journey, unless it happened that the rain fell from heaven. So could no gold be obtained in this country on account of the want of water. Then spake the king to his noblemen who stood beside him, "Let the prince," he called, "who are present. I will take counsel with them about this land as to what measures should be taken. As soon as As soon as they had been brought before the divine benefactor, just like a lot of people, they're considered to be in a religious role of some sort. They're called it divine. It doesn't mean that they're actually God, but they lifted up their hands to praise his name, speeches in his honor, and to pray before his beautiful countenance. And the king described to them the conditions of this land, in order to take their advice upon it, with the view of boring walls on the road. And they spake before the king, Thou art like the sun, everything succeeds with thee. What thy heart desires, that comes to pass. When thou conceivest a wish in the night, it is accomplished as soon as the earth becomes light again. We have hastened to thee to do what there is to do, for great is the number of thy astonishing works since thou hast appeared as king in the country. We heard nothing, we saw nothing, and yet what is there? It was done just as it is. All the sayings of thy mouth are like the words of Horiamku. Thy tongue is a balance, thy lips are a standard measure, according to the just scales of the entity Trahotta. Where is that hidden which thou didst know? Where is the wise man who might be like thee? There is no place found which thou hast not seen. There is no land which thou hast not trodden. Everything excellent is found an entrance into thy ears, since thou wast as an Adon of this land. Thou didst act with wisdom when thou didst still sit in the egg. In thy time of childhood that happened, which thou settest for the welfare of the land. When thou grewest up to boyhood, with the lock of hair of youth, no memorial saw the light without thy command. No business was carried out without thy knowledge. Thou wast raised to be an overseer of this land. When thou wast a youth and didst count 10 full years, all buildings went forward under thy hand, and the laying of their foundation stones was carried out. When thou spakest to the water, Come upon the mountain, then appeared the rain. Immediately at thy command, thou art like the sun entity. As the body of the Creator, so is that which he begets. Wasn't everything like the body belonging to the Creator, really? All those names of the Bible that end in Al or Yah, Truly, thou art the living likeness of Ra, the heir of thy father, Tamu, of Heliopolis. Taste is on thy tongue, feeling is in thy heart. The place of thy tongue is the shrine of truth. The divinity sits on thy lips, and thy words will be performed forever. I'm just out of memory something from the Psalms, but what is thy understanding has done is like the works of Ptah, the fashioner of the works of art. Thou art ever he whose intentions are all carried out, whose works are all fulfilled. Thou art great Lord and ruler. As regards the land of Akita, may a decision be made according to the counsel taken concerning it. Thus spake the king's son, the miserable land of Cush, saying thus before the king, land is in this state. It is accursed for want of water since time of Ra. Remember the mythical roles of the various entities called gods. There's symbolic value in that somewhere. I don't quite get it though. Or at least I don't remember it. People die of thirst in it. All former kings wished to bore wells in it, but they were not successful. King Ptah-mer-Satin, second to first, also did the same. He had a well bored 120 cubits deep in his time, but they abandoned it, for no water made its appearance. If, then, now thyself wouldst speak to thy father, the Nile entity Hapu, the father of the entities, let the water come up on the mountain. He will do all that thou sayest, yea, indeed, all which thou hast designed will be accomplished before us, and not only according to hearsay, because thy fathers, the entities, love thee more than all kings which have been since the time of Ra. Says the king to the princes, if all is true that ye have spoken, and water has not been opened in that country since the time of the entity, as you have said, then I will bore a well there to afford water perpetually, yea, that the well may be under the command of the father Yemen Ra, the Theban entity, and of Her, the lords of the land of Nubia, that their heart may be fixed in love. I will therefore appoint that it be called after their name. And the princess, when the princes praised their lord and worshipped him and fell prostrate before him, the king, and raised shouts of joy to the heights of heaven. Then spake the king to a royal scribe who was near him, prepare thyself and betake thyself to the road to the land of Akita. Let the second day of the month be the day on which thou shalt carry out this mission. The scribe did just as he was bidden. Behold, they assembled the people which were skillful in boring, and they should work and form a well which should furnish water to those who traveled. The road to the land of Akita never was the like done since the earlier kings. Yeah, early Egypt, even pre-dynastic Egypt, was like sort of a like advanced age in many ways. It's like other areas, technology and stuff goes up, but you know. And of the water which streamed out of the brooks and formed, and fishermen from the islands in the neighborhood of the lagoons of Naphtho enjoyed themselves, for they built small boats and made use of the as a rudder with the wind. Then came the bearer of a letter from the king's son of the miserable land of Cush about a well, to say to the king, all has in fact been done, that thy majesty has spoken with his own mouth. There has appeared water out of it 12 cubits deep. There were 4 cubits in it. Some words missing. The depth, some words missing. They, some words missing. Out as was the intention of the work, the entity has inclined his heart favorably through thy love. Never has such a thing happened since the time of the sun entity Ra. And the inhabitants of Akita made joyful music on great drums. Those who had diseased eyes washed themselves with water and were healed. They all sang, Hail. To the king, the water which is in the depth was obedient to him. He hath opened the water on the mountain, and they offered thanks. To him, through the king's son, because of his mission, that was more pleasant to the heart of the king than all else. Thus then were his plans well carried out. Beautiful was the acknowledgement which the inhabitants of the district uttered. A road was made from this well to the well of Yemen Ra Mu Masu, the conqueror, in the land of. So early as the 11th dynasty, we find traces of borings for water in the waste valleys of Hammamat, 1200 years before the accession of Yemen Ra Mu Masu. Sanskar Ra, one of his ancestors, had made 4 wells on the old road from Coptus to Kasir, the remains of which can still be seen. And in Peru, I guess that particular aspect reaches like a pinnacle, even like 9,000 years ago. Areas that have virtually no rainfall, like literally just stir up dust. is all you can expect to see in a lifetime, really. That they're able to bore, you know, they had underground passages to get water out there where they wouldn't die. But anyways, Sharma, peace be unto you.